February 1941, Maximilian Kolbe, a Polish monk, was incarcerated in Auschwitz, the horrendous Nazi concentration camp. Maximilian Kolbe was put in Barracks 14 with several other prisoners. In those barracks, Maximilian Kolbe would listen to these men as they poured out their hearts. He would make the sign of the cross in the putrid air of Barracks 14, seeking to bring the men comfort and peace. Maximilian Kolbe was convinced that the cross of Jesus Christ would ultimately triumph over the swastika. One day, one of the men from Barracks 14 escaped. The commandant lined up all the men early in the morning. After roll call, he dismissed all of the barracks except for Barracks 14. He made them stand in the heat of the sun all day long. That evening, the Nazi commandant stood before them and said, "One of your men in Barracks 14 has escaped. We have not found him. 10 of you will die." He read off 10 names. When he read the 10th name, the man cried out, "My poor children, my wife, what will they do?" Suddenly there was a commotion as Maximilian Kolbe stepped out from his line, walked up to the commandant and said, "Commandant, I want to die in that man's place." The commandant said, "Sure." Maximilian Kolbe and the other 9 men were marched to the starvation barrack or bunker. They would receive no food, no water. They would starve to death. Normally when prisoners were put in that starvation barrack, there would be howling and fighting in their despair, in their pain. But the prisoners in Auschwitz began to realize there was soft singing coming from that starvation bunker. And instead of men fighting, there was peace as they began to starve to death. Maximilian Kolbe, a man of faith in Jesus Christ, a Polish monk, ministered to the men as they starved to death. He led them in worshiping God. He gave them an eternal perspective. He brought the comfort of the Good Shepherd to their lives. And he shepherded those men as they died of starvation. And eventually, Maximilian Kolbe succumbed, and he also died. The man whose place he took was Franciszek Gajowniczek, who was released from Auschwitz and lived to the ripe old age of 95, caring for his children, his wife, and his grandchildren. But almost every day, Franciszek Gajowniczek would tell someone about Maximilian Kolbe and would express his gratitude to the Polish monk who sacrificed his life so that he could live.